What's up guys, Houndish here, and today we're jumping in with another Destiny 2 Season of the Seraph video, and in this one we're going to be focusing on new crafting weapons for the season. As always, Bungie have introduced a bunch of weapons to the crafting pool. This includes the seasonal activity stuff, the reprised Ikelos Weapons, which have some new perk possibilities, and of course the Deepstone Crypt weapons, plus later on we'll be seeing the dungeon weapons craftable as well. But on top of this, it looks like one of the exotic quests for the season will have a crafting element for the Revision 0 exotic, so we'll touch on that, but otherwise we'll cover the potential roles for the crafting weapons this season. As always, I hope the video is useful, and now let's get into it. The first thing worth mentioning right here is that it looks like the Revision 0 exotic weapon for this season will have an element of crafting involved, and we'll first get access to acquiring the weapon via the exotic mission coming up on December 20th. But looking at some of the quest steps, a core array will have us visit the Enclave on Mars to complete a couple of steps at the relic before we go ahead and shape Revision 0. Obviously there aren't a ton of details about this just yet, but worth mentioning considering we're talking about crafted weapons. Here though, let's speak about the weapon set that come from the new activities for Season of the Seraph. As always, red border drops can happen randomly, plus there are various upgrades as always that make acquiring red borders easier for the seasonal activities. And the first new crafting weapon is Disparity, which is a stasis pulse rifle in a hard-hitting 4-burst fire, that's the aggressive burst archetype. And it can get chamber compensator, extended barrel, and corkscrew rifling, but also for magazines, stuff like appended mag, accurized rounds, and tactical mag. But for the traits in the first slot, it can roll outlaw, as well as rapid hit, so a couple of good reload options there. But additionally, it can get pugilist, eye of the storm, no distractions, heating up, and moving target in the first slot, with the second slot seeing the traits headstone, as well as desperado, and of course these are going to pair pretty nicely with those reload bonuses. It can additionally roll kill clip, and then frenzy, headseeker, swashbuckler, and one for all, so actually some really good bonuses on this pulse rifle. I would definitely be interested to try Outlaw or Rapid Hit alongside Desperado on this thing. And all of these new season weapons come with the Ambush origin trait, and that improves range, handling, and damage against combatants during the opening moments of an engagement. Another seasonal weapon is the Tripwire Canary, and this is an arc lightweight frame bow. And touching on traits here, in the first slot, it can roll Sneak Bow, as well as Shot Swap, where final blows build and store charges which allow you to swap and stow this weapon at a faster rate. That sounds interesting, but it can also roll Rapid Hit and Perfect Float, where being in combat for a moderate time increases airborne effectiveness and reduces flinch until you are out of combat. Plus there is Slick Draw, Archer's Tempo, or Dragonfly in the first slot. Then the second slot can get Opening Shot, Explosive Head, Under Over, but also Frenzy, Harmony, Successful Warm-Up, or Swashbuckler. There's also a new type of glaive, and this is the Judgment of Kelgarath, and it's a solar aggressive glaive, which is hard hitting with a slow melee and ranged polearm, and it generates energy on dealing ranged damage. Potential main traits here include Genesis, Shot Swap, and then tilting at windmills, but also it can get Overflow, Immovable Object, Demolitionist, and Pugilist in the first trait slot, with the second trait slot seeing Surrounded, Harmony, Impulse Amplifier, or Incandescent as a potential trait. Plus there is Close to Melee, where glaive projectile final blows improve glaive melee damage, and projectile or melee damage will extend the duration, and it can additionally roll Unstoppable Force and Wellspring. I'm a really big fan of Incandescent, so I'd definitely be curious to try that, especially if you paired that with something like Demolitionist, as Incandescent would also stack with that. But Close to Melee also sounds pretty interesting, so share your thoughts or top rolls for the weapon down below. But there's also Path of Least Resistance. This is a new arc trace rifle. It's an adaptive frame, and for the first trait slot it can get Hipfire Grip, Shoot to Loot, Dynamic Sway Reduction, Subsistence, Triple Tap, as well as Stats for All or Adaptive Munitions. But the second trait slot can roll Tap the Trigger, Harmony, Gutshot Straight, and Focused Fury, but it's also the first trace rifle that can roll Volt Shot, plus it can roll Dragonfly or One for All. Volt Shot is absolutely something I'd love to try out on a trace rifle. But additionally there's the Fire and Forget, a new stasis linear fusion rifle. And this comes in the 3-round burst archetype, and it can get Perfect Float, that's the airborne effectiveness perk, but also Rangefinder, Surplus, Killing Wind, Headstone, Outlaw, or Field Prep in the first slot, with the second slot able to roll Frenzy, Harmony, Demolitionist, Focused Fury, High Impact Reserves, Chill Clip, or Vorpal Weapon. Kind of a mixed bag of potential perks there. Obviously the only other linear in this archetype was the one from Duality. Let us know which one you think can get better perks in the comments section. But the final new activity weapon for the season at least is the Retrofit Escapade. and this is a rapid fire frame void machine gun. Trait slot 1 can get Zen Moment, Turnabout, Feeding Frenzy, Heating Up, Field Prep, Stats for All, or 4th times the charm, with slot 2 being able to roll Tap the Trigger, Frenzy, Rampage, Golden Tricorn, Vorpal Weapon, One for All, or Target Lock, where damage increases the longer the weapon remains on a target. Not sure what that damage would look like, it could be an interesting one to look into at least. And that does it for the new seasonal activity weapons. Of course, once again separately, there will be the dungeon weapons. The assumption is that they will be craftable, but they're not going to be visible until after the dungeon launches. Additionally though, the Ikelos weapons from back in Warmind have been reintroduced. And these can drop as random drops in the activities, but also by combining resonant stems and opening the Warmind nodes in the destinations. Once again, they're craftable. I believe they've got some of the same options they had before. But for traits, the Ikelos hand cannon in the first slot can get rapid hit, as well as air assault and offhand strike. And final blows grant additional weapon range, stability and accuracy when firing from the hip. And then there's well-rounded, subsistence or stats for all. The second slot though can get focused fury, adaptive munitions, Golden Tricorn, Frenzy, Repulsor Brace, and One for All. The origin trait for these is Rasputin's Arsenal though, where breaking a target's shield partially reloads the weapon's magazine. On top of that though, there's the Ikelos Shotgun, and this time for traits it can get Feeding Frenzy, Turnabout, Offhand Strike, Threat Detector, Grave Robber, Subsistence, or Pugilist in the first slot, with the second column able to roll Vorpal Weapon, Incandescent, which could actually be pretty fun right there, but also Surrounded and Swashbuckler, as well as Cascade Point, another new bonus, where final blows or sustained precision hits with another weapon increase this weapon's rate of fire for a short duration. That could certainly be an interesting one there, but it's able to get 1-2 punch and trench barrel as well, so some of those trusty old shotgun bonuses. And the Ikelos Sniper Rifle now is able to roll in the first trait slot, Fragile Focus, as well as Surplus, Perpetual Motion, No Distractions, Moving Target, 4th times the charm, or Overflow, with the second slot able to get Under Over, Slick Draw, Elemental Capacitor, High Impact Reserves, Box Breathing, Focused Fury, or Incandescent. So another weapon with Incandescent there, and then there's the Ikelos SMG. This one can actually roll with Volt Shot now, which is pretty cool, but for the first trait slot, it gets Shot Swap, Feeding Frenzy, Shoot to Loot, Perpetual Motion, Dynamic Sway Reduction, Threat Detector, and Killing Wind as options, with the second slot seeing Frenzy, Tap the Trigger, Gut Shot Straight, Pugilist, Surrounded, Volt Shot, and Rangefinder. Things like Shot Swap and Feeding Frenzy alongside Volt Shot could be pretty cool. And to let us know what roles you'd be excited to check out on the Ikelos weapons. But here we have the updated weapons from the Deepstone Crypt. These are now going to be craftable and will drop randomly as red border weapons inside of the raid, but also can be purchased from the vendor at the end of the raid. And Bungie have outlined that on featured weeks for that raid, every encounter will be farmable. And for the Heritage Shotgun, of course, it retains some of the bonuses that it already had. In the first trait slot, there's auto-loading holster, but now also Demolitionist, then Hipfire Grip, Slide Shot, Pugilist, Reconstruction, and Threat Detector. And the second slot can get Snapshot, Moving Target, Offhand Strike, Killing Wind, Swashbuckler, Recombination, or Focused Fury. There's the Succession Sniper Rifle from DSC as well. In the first trade slot we can get Lead from Gold, but additionally Firmly Planted, Demolitionist, Moving Target, No Distractions, and then there's Shot Swap and Reconstruction, with the second slot able to roll Osmosis, Box Breathing, Vorpal Weapon, Recombination, Focused Fury, Snapshot, and Firing Line. The trusty Scout Rifle is one I'm certainly looking forward to. In the first trait slot, it can get Under Pressure, but also now Pugilist, Killing Wind, Surplus, and Reconstruction, and then Perpetual Motion and Rapid Hit are there as well. But the second trait slot can roll High Impact Reserves, Redirection, Swashbuckler, Opening Shot, and Wellspring, with the addition of Focused Fury or Incandescent. Once again, I always love some Incandescent action, and this could be a pretty good weapon. We also have the Commemoration Machine Gun from the raid as well, and first trait slot now can get Well-Rounded, 4th times the charm, Adaptive Munitions, Surplus, and Reconstruction, but additionally Dragonfly and Subsistence, with the second trait slot able to get Redirection, Unrelenting, Repulsor Brace, Focused Fury, or Rampage, and then it also has Firing Line and now Killing Tally as well. For the Bequest Sword, trait slot 1 can get Thresh, Energy Transfer, Wellspring, Relentless Strikes, Duelist's Trance, Tireless Blade, or Unrelenting, with the second trade slot able to get Surrounded, Assassin's Blade, On Guard, Demolitionist, Vorpal Weapon, Chain Reaction, or One for All. The final weapon for DSC though is the Posterity Hand Cannon, and in trade slot 1 it can now get Killing Wind, Wellspring, Surplus, and Rapid Hit, but then they've added Perfect Float, as well as Volt Shot and Reconstruction. In slot 2, Gut Shot Straight is a possibility, as well as Pugilist, Opening Shot, Redirection, Frenzy, Focused Fury, or Rampage. Obviously there's a very interesting possibilities there, combining things like Volt Shot and Frenzy or Rampage. And on top of this, there is the Bray Inheritance Origin trait for all of the DSC weapons now, where dealing damage regenerates a small amount of ability energy. And outside of the dungeon, once again, that is all of the craftable weapons for this season. Of course, Bungie have added even more weapons than that. And you can check all of the perk rolls and things like that out on LightGG. But for this video, let us know any weapons you'd be excited to try out this season or are hoping to craft. The only thing I would have liked to see more of in terms of perks would be a new kind of 3.0 verb perk. How we've had Volt Shot, Incandescent, and Volatile rounds. It'd be interesting to see more perks like that added, maybe for Void especially. Some extra ways to get Volatile would be pretty cool, but perhaps that's something Bungie will do in the future. Give us your thoughts down below. And if you've enjoyed the video today, a rating really does help us out. Plus, feel free to get subscribed and I'll keep you posted with more Destiny content. But otherwise, thanks for tuning in, and I hope you guys have an awesome day.